recording. Awesome. All righty. Just letting the folks in. Good evening, families. Hello, how y'all doing? It has been a while for me. Good to see you all again. I hope you all are having a great evening. Hope you're staying dry. If you're in the Durham area, we just got a little flash thunderstorm and rainstorm. So hope you all are staying dry and safe. For all you who do not know who I am Justin Barker, one of the associate directors for new student and family programs. It is such a pleasure to be with you all this evening. This is our last webinar of the year, and one of the most important topics. We got them moved in, they went through the entire year. Well, it's now time to play. It's closing time, right? Okay. So we wanted to make sure we got you all the information that you possibly could know about what the move out process is going to look like for your students and how you can help support that transition as we transition into our summer happenings. So how this is going to go, we're going to have a little presentation for you all, and then at the end. We're going to have kind of a live Q&A, but throughout the presentation, the Q&A feature will be open, and we have some team members from Housing and Residence Life who can answer some of those questions in the Q&A function. But again, we will have a live Q&A that I will help moderate towards the end. So at this time, we got 150 of y'all here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Deb. So take it away.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Deb Lobiando. I'm the Dean for Residential Student Services with the Office of Housing and Residence Life. Welcome, welcome. It will be difficult for me to know who you are in terms of first-year parents, upper class parents, etc. But I have a few slides that I'd like to share with you about the closing process for the residence halls this year, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So hopefully, with thumbs up, everyone can see this first slide for our parent webinar this evening. And what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the important dates that you all probably already know. And we have sent at least 2 waves of communication to students already who live on campus. And that includes communication that comes directly from our Housing Assignments Office through the housing portal, as well as information that the RAs have had during floor meetings and the RCs have sent out to their respective communities about things that are particular to their respective houses or quads. Everybody knows tomorrow's the last day of classes, so big celebration on the quad and pray for no rain because I don't think anyone wants to move it indoors. We then move into reading period where we have 24-hour quiet hours all over campus in our residence halls. We go into quad only access, and then we have exams, and it's just a cadence one day after the other. And we will have students that will start to leave when their finals are over, and if they don't have finals, some of them leave a little early. We've already had one student check out of West Campus today, I was told. We close on Monday, May 5th at noon. That is the absolute last time that students can stay on campus, unless they have applied for a housing extension, which they can do through the housing portal. If they are an extension student, they may be here for summer school, they may be here for a plus program, they may be here to do a research internship and they're staying on campus, etc. But they can apply for an extension through the housing portal. Then we have what's called Beach Week, and our students do a variety of different things during that time. I'm sure those of you who are upper class parents have stories to share about what your students have maybe done during that week. And then we move right into commencement weekend, which begins on Friday and ends with the commencement ceremony and department celebrations on the 11th Sunday. If students have an extension, our next closing date is Monday the 12th, which is also at noon. So graduating seniors, anyone else who's participating in commencement exercises, those of you with juniors who are marshals who are helping with commencement, or anyone in the orchestra who is performing at commencement. Those are all students who need to apply for an extension and can stay until noon on the 12th. Um, I will also mention that we have a number of students, four to 500 students that will be with us over the summer for summer school. Those students, if they want to, can apply for an extension so they don't have to move out and then move into summer school. But our summer school students move in on Tuesday morning. They can pick up a key, and we'll go through that in just a sec. So those are some key dates. All of your students have been shared the following information about move out expectations. Everyone's expected to clear and prepare their space, move all personally owned items from their rooms, anything they've rented, except for microfridges. If they've rented a microfridge from Duke stores, which many of our first year students do, they would leave it in their room, make sure it's defrosted, and our Duke vending folks will pick up the refrigerator at some point during and right after closing. They're going to make sure they've removed all the trash from their rooms. They're going to clean their space and return it to its original condition. They should also remove everything that they possibly have in laundry rooms and in common area kitchens, etc. We have shared with students, there are signs up all over the halls in laundry rooms and kitchens, etc., that if they do have an extension and they do need to leave belongings in the refrigerator, they should label them and date them to let our folks know that they're staying later, and they have an extension. We have a Devil's Care donation program on all of our campuses where students can donate items that they don't want any longer, they don't want to bring home, they don't want to store, etc. So these are all kinds of things that students can donate, everything from clothing to non-perishables to appliances that other folks could potentially use. And we have a couple nonprofits in the city of Durham that we work with who come in and drop off boxes and then pick them up twice a week. We ask students to please return any library books or any other academic supplies that they've borrowed throughout the year. If they've left them in the room, that is not something that our team will take care of for them. So they need to be sure they return all those borrowed items to the appropriate department. And then we ask that students return their keys or fobs if they're in a building that is what we call an Asa Abloy building where they don't have keys. We'll get to that in a second. I'll let you know what they do for that. We do, as a courtesy, if we walk into a room and we've noticed that someone has left something of value, and of course that can be somewhat subjective, but we do bag and tag those items and reach out to the student immediately to say, we have found your bank card, your wallet, your birth certificate, your passport, etc. And we will hold on to those items and reach out to the student and mail them to the student if the student wants them mailed. But to give you a sense of what that might look like, we're not going to hang on to things like storage crates and textbooks and other books and posters and school supplies. We expect students to remove all those things from their rooms, but we'll retain as a courtesy those really valuable things that folks really don't want to lose. And the summer transition is the last slide I had for y'all, and that is we have a couple hundred students that are going to be enrolled in summer session 1. Summer session 1 will be, as well as summer session 2, will be housed in Edens and Cohan. Move-in is Tuesday the 13th. Students are able to pick up their key at the West Campus HRL office and then move into their location. Before we turn it over to questions, I do want to share information about the actual move out process. So students, unlike particularly to the first year parents, if I'm talking to the first year parents, you remember you arrived, your cars were unloaded, it was a big party. There is no one helping you move your stuff to the car when you leave and when you check out of the halls. nor is there anyone helping during the sophomore move-in either. But it is up to the student to get their belongings loaded into their cars, etc. On West Campus, because it's a little bit uh, more challenging with roads, etc. We do have coverage in various unloading zone and loading zone areas. Parking and Transportation Services is great, and they've also agreed to be incredibly gracious with ticketing during that time. On East Campus, students who are moving out can get as close to their building as possible. We ask that it's no longer than 30 minutes, that they're not parked in a fire lane, etc. And Swift, I don't know if we have any Swift campus students on the call, but Swift is probably one of the easier places to move out of. Those students usually have a parking pass to the garage. They can put their stuff in the elevator and load their car accordingly. So now I'd like to open it up to questions just in case we missed anything that you all were interested in knowing about for move out. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions that you have.
Perfect. Deb, the first one we have in the chat is, can we move in anytime on May 13th for summer school?
The move-in time frame is you can pick up your key as early as 9 a.m., but you have to be out of your current assignment by noon. So what we've shared to students is that if you are planning to be here to move in for summer school, you should have already packed before Tuesday. And you would then move your stuff from your current location to West Campus. You can move it as early, you can move in as early as 9 a.m., get your key, and then move over accordingly. And of course, there's going to be a little wiggle room, and there's going to be a little grace given to students who might have some challenges moving over, especially students who are moving into summer school from East Campus and from, say, Swift, for example. I will share the other piece of this that we've shared with students is that you saw on the slide about returning keys. Keys are all students have been instructed to turn their keys into their respective campus office. So if you live on West Campus, you're turning your key in to the West Campus HRL office located in Craven. Live in Swift, it's right downstairs in the lobby. There's a drop box at every office location. At East Campus, there's a drop box at Southgate on the side that faces Trinity. So students all know, they should know where to turn their key in. They can turn it in during office hours to the office, or they can drop it in the drop box after hours. Our office is open on Saturday and Sunday, the 3rd and 4th of May, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Awesome. On East Campus, can parents park anywhere, or do we need to purchase a parking pass for move out? For example, can we park in the parking lot behind Giles?
You can park in the parking lot behind Giles. Our Parking and Transportation Services folks know that it's move out time. And again, they're providing some grace in terms of ticketing. We ask that you not park more than 30 minutes to an hour. They will have attendants coming around and chalking tires so they can keep track. If you've been there 2 or 3 hours, you might get a ticket. But you can park behind Giles. Those gates should be open. You can park behind Brown and Bassett. All the backside parking is still open. It's the main quad that is completely closed off over near the bus stop and the circle that goes up through Baldwin Quad.
Yeah, so first year families, that little circle that y'all came through during move in, that will be closed for move out. All right.
And I would also share that in order to get moved out of Blackwell, Randolph, the parking lot that goes behind Gilbert Adams would be your closest opportunity, or near Brody Gym. Brody Gym would be one of the best places to move out of Bell Tower and Trinity, and potentially Blackwell, Randolph. The other area that we see a lot of students loading cars is in front of the HRL office near Southgate.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Plan to pick up my daughter on 5/11, which is a Sunday. Can she return her key slash fob on that date?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, our office is open that Sunday from 11 to 5, but if she turns it in prior to 11 or after 5 o'clock, there is a drop box at the office with instructions, and there will be a little key envelope that she'll fill out, put her key in, and drop it in the Dropbox.
On West, when is the coverage for parking to park your car? I think I understand that question.
Yes, that's a great question. So we've arranged with Parking and Transportation Services to cover May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, starting at 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. each day. And on the 5th, the day of closing, from 9 a.m. to noon. Again, grace being given by Parking and Transportation Services for folks who might be lingering a little or might get there a little earlier, etc. But we have coverage at Edens Drive. We have some coverage for a few quad students on Chapel Drive, Wanamaker Drive, the student wellness lot behind Kilgo, which is also a really great place for students who live in Kroll, and the Wanamaker Fire Lane, um, which is right off of Tower View, and there's a little cut-in where students who live in Craven and Wanamaker can get in, and also down Wanamaker Drive on both sides. So if you come down one end, you're coming to McClendon Tower behind Cohan. If you come in the other end, you're coming in near Cohan and behind Wanamaker, and then you can also get to Hollows that way as well. So lots of areas that are getting covered by Parking and Transportation Services.
Awesome. Can furniture be donated? For example, a futon.
Furniture can be donated. We ask that it not clutter the hallway and it's put next to the donation bin. We have some semis that we'll have one semi set up near Hollows Quad for larger items. But we also know that students who live in our double or quarter residence halls have other types of furniture. Yes, they can donate that.
All right. Can students move out on April 28th if they have their last final that day that ends at noon?
Oh, absolutely. Students can move out at any time before noon on the 5th of May. And we, again, have students that will move out when their finals are over. We encourage students to move out within 24 or 48 hours after their last exam. Some students like to hang out with their friends until the last possible moment. And then other students who don't have finals are getting ready to pack their stuff and leave at the end of the week. So yes, and parents are welcome to help their student move their belongings from the room to the car. It's perfectly fine to do that. I think one of the things you're going to want to do is probably have someone stay with the car if at all possible, have your flashers on, I'm here for move out, etc. The other question that I saw that just came up is we will have moving carts in the campus offices that you are welcome to borrow. All three campus offices, Swift, West, and East, will have moving carts so that if you wanted to load everything into a cart, wheel it to your car, unload it into your car, and then bring the cart back to the office, you're welcome to do that. We don't have tons of carts, but we have a limited number on each campus.
All right. Do rooms have to be broom swept condition only? Should we bring cleaning products?
My philosophy is that you leave it the way you found it or better. And we all know that our students sometimes aren't real tidy. But if it's broom swept and things are wiped down, it's perfectly fine. If we walk in and it looks like the room hasn't been cleaned all semester, that will not bode well. So we ask folks to please just make sure things are wiped down and it's broom swept, and our housekeeping team will take it from there.
Awesome. Yep, I learned that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, you found it. Yep.
Yeah. Do students need to pay to get an extension on move out? My kid needs to move back in for research on May 18th.
With our extensions, which you apply for through the housing portal, there is a fee per day for extension housing. It depends on the program. There are some programs that may cover that cost. There are other programs that may not. We have an expert on the webinar, our director of Housing and Residence Life, Housing Assignments and Communication, MJ Williams, and if she'd like to take that question, I'm happy for her to do that.
she might be typing another response for the
Oh,
questions in the chat,
good.
so we can hold off on that one. But this one is a good one, Deb, to kind of provide some perspective for some of the construction that's going on East. So moving out of Pegram, there's no access to the frontage road. There's no parking lot behind Pegram. The library construction on East Campus is pretty much overtaken the other parking lot. Where am I supposed to park?
So if you're picking up your student from Pegram, my recommendation is that you park over behind Bassett or Brown and just walk across the quad. That is wide open right now. There's nothing happening in front of Baldwin in terms of construction. So that would be my recommendation, is that you go right across to the Bassett or Brown archways and you park on that side of East Campus. You're absolutely right. There are construction that has taken up a lot of the parking area behind Pegram and Allspaw in particular, as well as Giles. Um, and there's also lots of detours for you can't even get from the front door of Pegram to that parking lot behind those buildings unless you go all the way around towards West House. So that is really challenging. The quickest way is across the quad, directly across the quad.
Oh, I just lost the question I was going to ask. Okay, here it goes. Is it possible to move out our student without them being present? Asking because our student is done early, but because of work, we are not available to come get his stuff until Sunday.
If we get something in writing as an email from the student directly that's giving us permission to give their parents access to the room with their room key, then we can make arrangements. The challenge might be if the student has a roommate that is either still here or is here or not here. We've made exceptions for that in the past, but this would be something that I would highly recommend you email me directly to see if we can make some exceptions. We typically don't want parents entering the building without their student and entering a room that's occupied by another roommate, for example. So unless you are 100% sure that you know what stuff is your students, which is not always necessarily the case, and what you need to move out, that may be challenging.
This one is about parking as well. Is it possible to email a parking tag to students for move out day? If parents are helping out their student pack and clean for move out, it can take a couple of hours.
I can certainly ask Parking and Transportation Services that question. That is their purview. We have never done that in my 30 years at Duke. Parking and Transportation is, again, very gracious during move out. I would I would recommend that students start packing little by little every day between now and the time they know they want to move out. That way it doesn't take hours to move everything from their room to the car. But I can certainly ask that question to Parking and Transportation Services, but I will share that's not a practice we've ever done in my tenure at Duke.
Deb, there's also, can you reiterate the timeline in terms of actually, if it might be helpful to bring that timeline screen back up of when, so basically students can technically start moving out now if they would like, up until
Absolutely.
the May 5th date, correct?
Correct. And we typically at over the course of next week, we will have dozens of students who will have already moved out over the course of the week because they've either don't have exams or they've taken one exam at the beginning of the week and they will decide to leave and go home or do what they're going to do for the summer.
Yeah. Your students are anything like me. I stuck around and hung out with my friends.
So did I, but I was an RA, so I had to stick around.
Same, same. So I had to do that plus clean out the rooms. Okay. Let's see. We got some questions being asked in the chat. Looks like MJ's taking care of that. Um, There's a question about borrowing carts, and I think you said, Deb, each resident hall's office will have uh, a few carts available, correct?
Right. The campus office in Southgate will have carts that students can borrow, for sure. We don't have a lot. We probably have 4 or 5 per campus office.
Let's see, because I don't think everyone gets to see the Q&A questions. There was a question, I think MJ's answering it right now, but for the large group, if using Uber while moving out, where should we ask them to pick up for Blackwell?
I would I would say for Blackwell, I would have them park in the parking lot that is between Blackwell and the area behind um, Gilbert Adams. So there's a bump out parking lot behind Gilbert Adams. There's a little loading dock there, and that's Blackwell right there. Randolph is closer to Brody. So I would have them pick up there. And any Uber driver who knows the campus should know where that is.
Suggestion on where students can get boxes to pack up with.
They can go to the Duke store and get boxes. Duke store usually has a pretty significant supply of boxes for packing, along with packing tape and those kinds of materials. They can also go, if they're an East Campus student, they can walk across the street um, to FedEx Kinko's and get boxes there. If they're on West, they can go over to Irwin to UPS, but they can get boxes pretty much anywhere. I think the most convenient is the Duke store, obviously. A lot of parents have been posting on the Facebook page about these packing bags. They look like IKEA bags
Hmm.
that are really cool to pack stuff in, and I think they're probably better for non-breakables, so clothing and those kinds of things.
Can you please talk about instructions for students on East who don't have a key fob for their room?
So we don't have any key fobs on East Campus at all. We have buildings with keys, and then we have buildings where they only use their Duke card and a push button code to get into their rooms. So if they are, every student to this date should have on their bedroom door right now a QR code with instructions on what to do to check out, as well as signature lines. So when they're moving out, we can see that. The students who are living in keyless buildings can just scan the QR code after they have moved everything out of their room. And that'll show up in our database that they have done that. And that'll give us the indication that the student has left. And all windows and doors should be locked. I saw that question in the chat. We ask that all windows and all doors are locked when the student leaves.
So I can quickly address this communications question. So you can always email family programs at duke.edu for anything specific. I will say our office has not produced any communications as far as move out this month. This webinar is being recorded. I'm planning on putting it in our newsletter that it's hopefully to go out next week. But yeah, you can always email our office at familyprograms at duke.edu. If you're already getting the newsletter, you're already in the know. So I'll just go ahead and tell you all that. You're also on this webinar, so you're already in the know.
There was a question about Beach Week. Could someone clarify the question they're asking about Beach Week? That is typically for students who have extensions, who have nothing to do between the time we close for May 5th and the students have coined that phrase, Beach Week. It doesn't mean everybody's going to the beach. Some students stick around and finish up last minute papers or have research to do, etc. Some students are going to the beach, some students are going home for a week, some students are going abroad. Students are doing all kinds of things during what students call Beach Week.
So a question in the Q&A might be beneficial for some of our summer school folks, but my daughter is staying for summer term one. She
Mhm.
requested an extension for her current dorm in Wilson, and was assigned to Edens for summer term. If she has to be out of Wilson by 12 p.m. on May 12th, but can't move into Edens until May 13th, where do students generally stay overnight on the 12th?
So the extension would be through the 13th, and she doesn't have to be out until the 13th at noon. For students who are moving into summer session housing, or they're in a plus program with Duke, they do not have to be out of their current assignment until noon on the 13th. They can pick up their key as early as 9 a.m. on the 13th. So their extension will last through noon on the 13th. Make sense?
Awesome. I think I'm frozen. Yay, technology, but I hopefully y'all can still hear me. But there was a comment about thank you for I'm so glad this has been helpful for many of you all, but a question asking about webinar for moving in to West in the fall. So I can just EXO will be going on during that time. So we will be welcoming our new to Duke students during that time, but there will be move-in information sent to your student, whether that is from a housing team or from our team in new student and family programs. So don't know if it's a webinar, but you're giving me ideas, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that. I will preface by sharing that the welcome party that you saw when your first year students moved in with all those cheers with orientation leaders and RAs and people literally carrying your student stuff to their room does not happen when they're a sophomore. They are on their own. We have a time frame in which students can move in over the course of a weekend on loading zone areas, and we hear feedback from sophomores every year. Why can't it be like last year? But they're on their own.
I know. We just wish we could get a party all the time, Deb. But we will be helping the new folks move into their residence halls. So let's see. Include info loading zones. MJ's got that one. If the student is living off campus for summer session, can they still keep their stuff on campus till May 13th?
If they are not enrolled, if they are enrolled in summer session and they need an extension and they can't move into their off-campus location until, say, the 12th or the 13th, they can request an extension and they can pay for that extension. But they can't leave their stuff in their room. They're still going to pay for an extension as long as their belongings are in their room. If that's what I'm hearing you're asking, as long as their belongings are in their room, they are occupying that space and therefore will need to pay for that space.
Let's see.
Yeah, I saw the comment about the housing calendar. There's two move out dates on the housing calendar. One is Monday, May 5th for folks that are not participating in commencement or moving into summer session, et cetera, housing. The other is Monday, May 12th. If a student arrives on the 13th, which is that Tuesday at 5 o'clock, they can still check in. We'll have folks covering the office. We'll have an after-hours schedule of on-call folks who can check students in after 5. And that'll all be posted to the office door.
Deb, when is move in for fall semester for upperclassmen students? So sophomores and above.
I believe it is Friday the 22nd of August. So it's about a week or so after first year move-in.
All right.
And we do move in for upper class students on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we don't do it all in one day like we do for first year students. but we do it over the course of 3 days. And typically it happens out of the wellness building with students and parents able to park in the Bryan Center garage and walking over and getting their key and other move-in materials.
These are great questions, everybody. How much does an extended storage cost approximately?
Extended storage or extended stay? Extended stay, those daily rates are on our website. I don't want to quote them because I don't know them off the top of my head, but they're 50 something dollars a day. Definitely less expensive than a hotel.
Okay. So to confirm, summer session students can stay until May 13th,
Mhm.
despite the fact the calendar says they move to summer assignments on May 12th.
Correct.
All right, my friends. The chat is slowing down. The Q&A is slowing down. Again, if for your reference, this webinar has been recorded, and because of the time sensitivity of this information, my goal is to get this thing downloaded for you all tonight. I will hopefully have it on our website uh, by y'all. We got to get through LDoc tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get it to you all by at least Thursday. Okay, so you can have this information. You can always visit the housing website for this information if need be. And y'all, thank y'all so much for this evening. Deb, thank you so much for the information. We most certainly appreciate it. Megan and MJ, thank y'all for the behind the scenes answering the questions in the Q&A. We greatly appreciate it. And family, I hope y'all just have such a splendid night. Thank y'all so much. We will see y'all soon. Tell your students good luck with finals for us. And for any seniors out there, congratulations. You did it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have other questions.
Thanks, y'all. All righty, I'm gonna end it now. Thanks, team. I really appreciate y'all.
All right, we'll see you soon.
We'll
Take
see
care.
y'all soon. Bye bye.